I'm the one who is organizing the Longevity World Cup. I also have a podcast called Immortal Combat, where I cover the longevity competitions and basically documenting how this thing is going to become a sport. We might actually have a chance to achieve longevity at escape velocity, right? Like live long enough to not have to die by natural means, but by choice. Snake oil is good. That's the sign of innovation, you know. Games transcend the laws of ethics and laws. We cannot experiment on humans right now because all these ethical reasons, but we all agree everyone has their own unconditional right to their own body.
Hi, everyone. Today I have a special guest for you. Adam, could you please introduce yourself?
Hey, Lucas. Thanks for inviting me here. I'm the one who is organizing the Longevity World Cup. I also have a podcast called Immortal Combat, where I cover the longevity competitions and basically documenting how this thing is going to become a sport or becoming a sport right now. I also have another life, which is from Bitcoin community, because I created the most popular anonymous Bitcoin wallet. So I was originally a software developer and had a great run the last 10 years in Bitcoin, but later on, as governments started to attack me and my family in various ways, I decided to step back and focus on something else that I see a potential revolution, a similar one that what I saw in Bitcoin. So that's how I came to longevity.
Okay, so you're one of the early adopters in cryptocurrencies, specifically Bitcoin, and now one of the earlier adopters in the longevity movement you're hoping to be.
Yeah, I mean, early adopters in longevity movement. What does that mean, right? Like early adopter is like the Chinese emperor who tried to drink some, I don't know, mercury to live forever.
Yeah, but there's been a big movement, I think, from the past decade, right? I think a lot of it is credited to David Sinclair's book, right? In the late 17 or 18. I think he really pushed the idea that there's novel technologies that are approaching, medical technologies that will push the boundaries not only of health span, but also potentially lifespan. So I see it as like a new wave of potential longevity. But you're right. I mean, the idea of longevity in the fountain of youth has been around for centuries.
I wanted to say that I was aware of that, but I never heard it put like this before, that, hey, it's really just the past, I don't know, 20 years, maybe, when we started to learn that, hey, we might actually have a chance to achieve longevity at escape velocity, right? Like live long enough to not have to die by natural means, but by choice.
Mm-hmm. That's the dream. And I think, there's a lot of snake oil in that field, as there always has been. But
snake oil is good. That's the sign of innovation, you know. In Bitcoin, there was a lot of snake oil in the beginning, and things were improving in front of my eyes in 2013. Now it's like getting regulated, and people are not allowed to do stuff, and everything is safe, and there are barely any improvements anymore on Bitcoin and around that whole ecosystem because regulatory capture. So I embrace the scam.
But it's interesting what you say, that you come from a background of computer science or software development, and now you're transitioning into health and longevity. And there seems to be a movement that from that particular direction. There's a lot of individuals from the cryptocurrency field that are moving into this health and wellness and longevity and supporting the movement, such as Vita DAO. So can you speak to that a little bit? Do you know why there is that parallel? Because it seems a little bit paradoxical to me.
Yeah, I do notice that people who are interested about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are also tend to be interested in longevity probably has to do something with personality types, right? The people who are open to new ideas are the ones who are open to new ideas like longevity and Bitcoin. Now, there might be also something else. So the first time I have heard about the longevity movement was around 2014. There was a guy, we called him the Hungarian Bitcoin Jesus, and came to me around 2014, maybe 2015, that, hey, Adam, look, we already solved money. Bitcoin is just a matter of time. Now we have to move on to the next big thing that's not yet solved, right? And I'm like, okay, what's that? Well, that's longevity. And he put the bug in my head, like from that time on, I kept paying attention to this field. In fact, I created like a litmus test of when is it really worth getting involved in the longevity field. And that was that every single year I sent into the longevity subreddit the same question. How long can scientists keep a mouse alive? And I was like hoping that as every year passes, the answer changes that, oh, it's only 20% now, it's 30%, 50, 200. Unfortunately, the answer is not changing, which is quite depressing. But so my litmus test has not been met. But on the other hand, I had to, for other reasons, leave Bitcoin, and maybe I can do something in longevity that makes a difference. And I think the longevity competitions, longevity as a sport, might be that thing. Like, I have reason to believe that.
So let's talk about that. So why do you think these games, these Longevity World Cup games, can you talk a little bit more why you started and why do you hope that it pushes the boundaries of human lifespan?
So I punch you in the face. Like, that would be unethical, right? Like, it would be immoral, unlawful. Like, that would be that wouldn't be nice. But what if I do it in the frames of a competition, in a fighting game, right? Now it not only becomes legal to punch each other in the face, but it and moral, but it becomes imperative. Other people are going to cheer for us to punch each other in the face. What is this madness? Well, you see, this is the power of games. Games transcend the laws of ethics and laws. By people self-experimenting, human self-experimentation, that's the recipe for innovation, right? We cannot experiment on humans right now. Whatever we do, we cannot really do anything with humans because all these ethical reasons, but we all agree everyone has their own unconditional right to their own body. So now that opens the door. Games also hijack your motivation. So, okay, let's step back. What is a game? Well, the definition of a game, at least from a Bernard Suitzian definition, The Grasshopper, that was a book, the first book that defined the game that philosophers kind of agree on. The definition is that games are voluntary attempts to overcome unnecessary obstacles. Let me give you an example. When do you play a game and when do you not play a game? There is you and me. We both want to get to the top of a mountain. You want to get to the top of a mountain because you want to get a special plant to get a longevity, to make a longevity cure out of that special plant. Okay. And I want to get to the top of the mountain because I'm hiking. A helicopter comes and offers both of us to, hey, do you want to take this ride? Now, what happens is that you're going to take the helicopter ride and I'm going to refuse it because I am playing the hiking game. I am taking on these unnecessary obstacles in order to play this game. So the goal that for me to get to the top of the mountain is not as important as to play the game. So what's the point here? The point here is that we have these sport competitions, right? And the goals are what put a ball into a basket, let's say. But in this longevity world, or longevity as a sport, which we still don't have a name to, maybe let's call them time lifters or something like that. The goal is to reverse your biological age, right? So the larger the gap between your biological age and your chronological age, the better you are in the competition. In the rejuvenation Olympics, it's pace of aging, right? Dunedin pace, what matters. But the point is that everyone is trying to reverse their age in these imperfect goals or biological aging algorithms. Everyone is chasing them. But as the algorithms are getting better and people's motivations are pointed towards fighting these algorithms, then could we make like a difference here? I mean, bodybuilders figured out how to get big muscles before science was even a thing. Science later came into the bodybuilding scene and figured out how to get still a little bit bigger muscles, because if you do 2 sets instead of 1 set, then it's gonna be a bigger 2% bigger. It's cool. It's very important, but ultimately, maybe humans fuck around and find out could be just as viable as rigorous scientific work, and in fact, the first can utilize the second. So that's my vision.
Okay, I think it's a great mission, and you're right. I think games have these abilities to motivate people to do different things, and things that are, like you said, beyond regulations and beyond laws. And it makes me think of what you were saying. Makes me think of individuals from the OG. I don't know if you heard of Josiah Zayner. He was one of the first biohackers to publicly inject himself with gene therapy. And now we have somebody else that's very prominent, Brian Johnson, who's doing that on his YouTube channel as well, right? So these individuals are pushing the envelope, trying these untested methods, right, to extend their health span and lifespan. So I think when you have a way to measure individuals compared to not only each other, but most importantly, compared to yourself, and you have a baseline, and then you can compare whether an intervention is actually making a difference in terms of slowing your aging, people are going to be pushing the envelope a lot more. They're going to be trying these more radical interventions to see what can actually slow their pace of aging. So talk a little bit about, so we talked a little bit about what Rejuvenation Olympics is, right? They use True Diagnostics, epigenetic aging, to measure their pace of aging. And so what's the goal of Longevity World Cup? How do you assess biological age? And can you just explain that?
Sure. So True Diagnostic is using Dunedin pace, which is a pace of aging test. The Longevity World Cup is using PhenoAge, which is calculated from a traditional blood test. But the Longevity World Cup is changing the biological aging clock every single year. So every year a new biological aging clock is used, therefore rotation and hopefully better biological aging clocks are going to come out, and we'll be able to compete on them. Also, there is something interesting in True Diagnostics approach in the Rejuvenation Olympics, because there was the Symphony Age. I'm not sure if you heard about that. So Symphony Age is an epigenetic aging clock that looks at different organ systems. So your heart age, your muscle age, your metabolic age, and whatnot. So they wanted to do that, and actually, at one point, they even published a leaderboard on that. And me being the hacker from Bitcoin, I saved quickly the results, and the next day they removed it. So now I know where people were standing. But anyway, what was my point? Oh yeah, this systems age is really interesting because now it's not just a biological age. So okay, this makes the competition more interesting, but also it makes it more useful for people to act upon. Because when I was looking at my Symphony Age test, oh, by the way, Symphony Age is from a research called Systems Age. It's just rebranded, and Systems Age was created by Morgan Levine later, who created the Pheno Age, which is the Longevity World Cup is using. So there is this connection there. But what was I saying? I was saying that this epigenetic aging clock for different organ systems, when I looked at it, that, oh, my lungs and my metabolic age are the most problematic ones, then it gave me actionable insights. And ever since I'm doing a lung protocol or lung experiment, I'm not sure what to call it, but I'm doing all kinds of biohacks for my lungs. And yes, so you can spot how this is the worst thing about you. This system is working the worst about you. This is what you should focus on instead of the others. So yeah, there is that. That's actionable.
We know that epigenic age is an indirect measure, right? So if we're talking about epigenic age, it's an indirect measure, and now the Symphony Age is indirect measures of the health or the age of your different organs.
What do you mean by indirect?
Well, it's indirect compared to blood biomarkers, right? Because you can have more direct measurements of the function and health of your lungs compared to looking at epigenetic markers, right? So you decided to choose the route for Longevity World Cup of more direct measurements, Pheno Age, which is composed of 9 different blood biomarkers. Was that one of the reasons why you chose that, or was it because of lower cost and easier accessibility for participants, or what were the reasons you chose to pursue the Pheno Age instead of a different type of pace of aging biomarker?
So first of all, I'm an evil capitalist. Although I can live and work for free for a couple of years, but eventually I will need to make money somehow and support my family, right? And now I figured I cannot make money from Pheno Age, and Pheno Age is a very popular epigenetic aging test. So I might best, for the very first season, for the very first year, where I'm not even expecting to make any money, then I'm just going to use Pheno Age. And for the follow-up years, I'm going to use epigenetic aging clocks, and we'll see if I can get a cut from some of the companies that I'm utilizing. So that's the business plan there. Well, that's not the business plan, but that's one way how I'm hoping to drive revenue. Yeah.
Okay. And can you explain for people that are interested, how do they sign up for the Longevity World Cup, and how does the competition work?
Oh yeah, so you can go to the longevityworldcup.com website. You click on play the game, and it's gonna send you or ask you to go to any laboratory that draws your blood and gives you, I believe, 9 biomarkers, and registering those, you go through a process of signing up and getting onto the leaderboard. That's how you sign up. And I forgot the second part of your question.
So how does the competition work? I noticed there's also an association with Is it cryptocurrency, or there's some sort of monetary gains potentially?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. So that's one thing that I found like a low-hanging fruit. So probably in order for something to become a sport, you need prizes. I just put out a Bitcoin donation box, and turns out some people were donating some really big money there. So now the first one, Mike Lustgarten, is the first one right now. I think he would be making $1,300. Second one, $500. Third one, something like $200-300. So there are these prizes. It's interesting, by the way. So someone donated $1,200, something like that, and I don't know who, but I can see that they were using the software Wasabi Wallet. I created a software, and the past 10 years I was working on that, but I could see that they were using that software to anonymize their money. So they donated anonymously, and not even I know where is it coming from. So that's pretty interesting.
So do they donate it to a particular participant, or do they donate it to the cause, the one?
Oh yeah, there is a prize pool. So there is one Bitcoin address. You send any amount of Bitcoin there, and that gets distributed between the first 3 people, and 10% to organizational troubles.
And it gets distributed how often?
Oh, every year.
Every year. Okay.
After the finish of each competition. So 1 year, 1 season, 1 clock, 1 prize distribution.
So in addition to improving your health, slowing your aging, there's a monetary incentive for the individuals to become the top 3 on that leaderboard. Okay, fantastic. So let's transition into the meat. I think what the audience wants to really find out. What have you learned? You've interviewed several of these individuals that are participating in the Longevity World Cup. Can you talk about some of the high-level lessons you've learned that have worked for these individuals in terms of slowing their aging?
Yeah, it's everything that you would think. They are total robots. They eat healthy. They don't smoke. They don't do drugs. They don't. They exercise. They sleep well. Like 80% is doing all of these. Now, there are also a couple of people like Mike Lustgarten. He's sleeping well, but you can see that he's not putting all the biohacks together to have the best CP in the world. Or what? Julie Gibson Clark. Well, she's doing everything, but on a very basic level from everything. Well, Dave Pasco is doing everything all together and more. But okay, so what's the point? The point is that there is actually one thing that I noticed that everyone is doing, and that's they are measuring themselves. It might be a biased sample because it's a competition which is based on measurement, therefore it might be attracting people who are measuring themselves, right? But anyway, that's actually something that everyone is doing. They are measuring themselves. The blood tests are the main thing that they are doing. So they're always looking at the bloods and adjusting their supplements and whatnot based on how their specific biomarkers are going up and down. Something interesting here is that I think there is a huge revolution of epigenetic measurements are happening in the background. So what everyone is doing right now is that we go to the doctor takes, we wait a long time until the doctor says, okay, you can come in now. Then they take a lot of blood from you, and then they give you back results 2 weeks later. So this is what's happening. But a revolution since the coronavirus pandemic of home testing is starting to happen. So, for example, True Diagnostics, True Health test, it's giving you 150 biomarkers. Many of them are what can be get from normal blood testing, and you don't have to be Steve Jobs to extrapolate that, hey, this thing is that one prick of fingerprint, Elizabeth Holmes, right? One prick of fingerprint is already giving you, not very accurately, admittedly, but is going to give you a lot of biomarkers that you would have to take a lot of blood, a lot more blood, that they are not even taking otherwise. So there is a huge revolution is going on there, and I kind of want to sit on that train. I have FOMO feeling there. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's coming. I've heard you talking about it too, but it's well known. I mean, it started in the mid 2010s with Theranos, right? That company. They were promising from a small sample of blood to give you dozens, if not hundreds, of biomarkers. Although that turned out to be a scam.
Here is a fun story about Theranos and True Diagnostics. So I interviewed Hannah Wendt, one of the founder of True Diagnostics. And I started the interview by describing what True Diagnostic, I believe, was doing, and asking Hannah to correct me if I'm wrong or not. So I described that blah, 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 blah. But there was a twist. The description that I read to her was actually me asking ChatGPT, what was Elizabeth Holmes trying to do? What's going on now is that they are doing what Elizabeth Holmes was promising to do. And, now you are reconsidering some of the things that you heard about Elizabeth Holmes. Like Tim Draper was saying that, oh, he thinks the media was the one that actually put down Elizabeth Holmes. Like if the media wouldn't went at her so strongly, then she might have succeeded. And, now I'm starting to think, well, people are doing this, so she might not be the villain everyone thinks she is, Embrace the scammers.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't want to get into the politics of it, but she did overpromise a lot, and there was a lot of falsification of results. So I don't know her, obviously, and I don't know too much about the story, except for superficially. So I don't want to get into it too much. But I want to get back on track with what you've learned. So, like you said, the common thread amongst the people that you've interviewed and that you've seen participate is they measure, they test, right? Whether it's blood, epigenetics, or all of the above. What about from the other angle? And I like this question that you've often asked your guests is anything that's exceptional that these people do, maybe some of the exceptions that you've noticed some of these people do that seem to be working for them? Something that's different from sleep, diet, exercise, and supplementation, right?
Let me think about it, but let me also note that I forgot to say the supplementation, and I did notice that people take more supplements than normally. So there is the bodybuilding subculture, which is taking creatine and fish oil and vitamin D. There is the beauty subculture, which is taking hyaluronic acid and blah, blah, blah. And there is the longevity subculture, which is rapamycin and whatnot. But there are all these subcultures. Those are trying to improve different kind of functions of the body. And the longevity athletes are taking all the supplements from all the subcultures, right? So I think this field is the one where people are taking the most supplements. So that's, I think that's an extra in a sense that over 50 supplements, which is fairly common, over 50 supplements a day, is you need different kind of strategies, philosophies of thinking about what supplements you're taking. You're not thinking about things like, is it safe? Are the right amounts were in this research? But you're kind of like just winging it, right? Like this week I'm gonna put this thing into my huge supplement stock and see if it does something. If I don't feel anything that I I'm going to I'm going to do it only until it runs out, and I'm never gonna buy it again, except if I hear it from a podcast which says good things about it. Then I reconsider. So you have to, if you're mass testing supplements on yourself, and it seems to be pretty safe. So many people are doing these.
For
Although
sure.
many people are doing a bunch of mistakes as well, right? So safe, not safe. It's a self-experimentation, right? Like that's what games enable and incentivize. So I am self-experimenting. I just overdosed on chaga mushrooms. So what was my philosophy of getting the chaga mushrooms? I'm looking into these exploding topics every day, like not anymore, but for a long time I was looking at, hey, what topics are exploding? I wanna be in the loop. And I was looking at this thing called Stardust. What the heck is Stardust? It's a supplement. I never heard about Stardust. Turns out it's a mushroom mix. I'm like, okay, so it's an exploding topic. It's a supplement. I never heard about it. I might as well order a little bit of Stardust. Since I'm at it, I order a little bit of Astro Dust as well for sleep. And since I'm at it, there are some nice, chaga mushroom gummies there, and I'm gonna order that as well. Oh, by the way, what's this Stardust thingy? It turns out it's mushroom mix supplements for creatives who want to feel like they are high on mushrooms, but they are not really, because these are like not psychedelic mushrooms, just your regular supplementation mushrooms like lion's mane and whatnot. And I started to eat these chaga mushroom gummies, and I started to eat a lot, throughout the day, putting like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I wasn't really looking at like how much should I eat from them, but one morning I wake up and I look at my aura. There is a metric called cardio age, or cardiovascular age,
Yeah.
in the aura ring, and it tells me that minus 1.5 years. I'm normally on my chronological age almost always, and I'm minus 1.5 years. And I had a friend who got a stroke, and he was put on a lot of blood thinners, and he said that, hey, that pushed down his aura ring cardio age to minus 5 years. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm like, something is working here. What's working here? So I'm like, okay, so I'm eating a lot of these tasty chaga gummies, chaga mushroom gummies. Could it be looking at, oh yeah, this is a blood thinner. And I'm like, holy shit, I should be taking one a day, not 6, 9, 7. And the whole day I was feeling, maybe only my mind, it clicked for me that, oh shit, it's not great, because I was like, okay, am I gonna get a stroke or not? Right? It's the kind of thing that people say about Brian Johnson, that he's going to choke on his peers.
Right.
How ironic that would be.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, let's segue into that then. So let's talk about your longevity protocol a little bit more. So you learned a lot, right? You do your own research, but you also learn from these individuals that are exceptional and have really slowed their aging. So what have you implemented in terms of let's start with your exercise for your longevity routine.
All right. I have an exercise history going back to ever since I know myself. The very first dream of me was to become a footballer, and I was doing football very seriously, and then Kyokushin karate. uh, later on, as I was stopped doing football, I was doing Krav Maga and kickboxing and street workout, gymnastics. I was doing many things, right? But after university, I left I left to Taiwan, and somehow in Taiwan the culture doesn't have this workout culture. So I started losing myself. I wasn't working out anymore. Let's just keep with the workout threads there. I became a software developer. Well, that didn't help either, right? So anyway, after my first kid was born around 5 years ago, I decided to, okay, let's start to work out again, because this is not going to end well. I was getting really fat and stuff like that. 5 years ago, I started to work out 5 minutes 3 times a week. My goal was to never skip a single workout for half a year. And over time, it became longer and longer, and I have not skipped a single workout for 1.5 years. And
Congrats.
ever since then, I did not skip any workout. So I added the cardio. I was keep doing the resistance training. Of course, my resistance trainings are not 5 minutes anymore, right? So now I'm doing cardio and resistance training. Uh, but now what I'm doing is a bit creative, because I'm doing a couple of things. First of all, every morning I do a follow along video. Every week I change this follow along video. So sometimes I do yoga, sometimes I do kickboxing, sometimes I do powerlifting, sometimes I do some tai chi bullshit stuff, that I would never try in my right mind, but it's okay to do for 1 week. And you know what, I enjoyed that the most of all the things. So what not. Okay, so I do these 5 to 15 minutes workouts every morning. I added a 5 to 15 minute workout. Well, it's more like stretching or yoga or whatnot at night. I have the morning and the night, and I'm working out during the afternoon. There is a twist. So what I'm experimenting for the past 5 months, sorry, I have this Aura ring, right? And it tells me the heart rate variability and the resting heart rate.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever my heart rate variability and resting heart rate goes down under the average of the last weeks, then I'm doing a recovery protocol, which always changes depending on where I am. When I'm home, I'm doing red light therapy, follow up with the sauna, doing a massage gun session. Um, when there are no allergies, and I have a lot of outside pollen allergies, but when there are no allergies, then I go out and do jacuzzi and the pool. And in the winter, I do the cold plunge, right? Because the pool becomes so cold that it's a cold plunge pool at that point. So I'm doing the recovery. Otherwise, I'm just doing the boring resistance training and cardio. 1 day resistance, 1 day cardio. That's how I'm doing it. This is one of the things that I have a lot of issues with diet and nutrition, but workout is something that I have completely conquered since the last 5 years. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic, Keel. Sounds like you're doing a variety of things, right? Keeping it exciting, not doing the same resistance training 5 days a week, same cardio. You're doing a lot of different types of exercises, which is a great way to keep motivated. And I love how you said that you actively measure your recovery, and then you base your training around that. And then if you need more recovery based on your HRV data, then you make sure you recover. I love that. Do you do any other measurements related to your exercise? Have you ever assessed your VO2 max and things like that?
Yep. So I did not do strength measurements, but I did do a VO2 max test. So you mentioned Brian Johnson, right? And he went to somewhere to do this gene therapy. Actually, I did go in the beginning of the year to that place
Oh yeah.
to Prospera, yeah. And I was really considering to do the gene therapy there, the folistatin, and there is another one as well now. But I decided not. Although there were a couple of people who were doing it, and the FOMO was really high. That maybe I should do the folistatin. They were even accepting Bitcoin. You know what else? I'm just a chicken. VO2 max. So yeah, I measured it there, and it was 40 something, 42, 40 something. So not elite level, but it's okay because that's one of the things that I couldn't put into my exercise routines to train VO2 max, right? Like I train cardio, which is steady state walking and whatnot, and I train strength training, which is resistance training. So none of those are VO2 max. And I have smoked for around 15 years of my life, and I always stopped. And right now I did not smoke for 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks, right? So now I'm a non-smoker again, but then again, like that's not good for my VO2 max. And in Prospera, I was certainly smoking. So
Well, I need to follow up on that. I want to hear more about your experience. You're going on a different direction, but let's talk about it. That's very interesting. Why did you go to Prospera? Was it for the gene therapy? And what was your experience like?
So first of all, what is Prospera, right? It's a free city state. In Honduras, there is a law that was allowing the creation of ZEDs, which are translating to free economic zones. So Prospera has been created, and the only thing that Prospera has to respect in Honduras is their criminal law, right? So you cannot smoke weed, cannot kill people, cannot whatnot, right? But everything else is Prospera doing. So taxes, how they are taxing, who they are taxing is the Prosperan Zede. This creates a certain environment for innovation. Just as an example, once I was in a pool party there. Okay, so in Prospera, there are some small government buildings, a restaurant, and a big, huge 20 stories building in the middle of the jungle, right? Because that's Prospera. So anyway, in that building, there was a pool party, and I was looking around, and I counted that 80% of everyone who I'm seeing are entrepreneurs, right? And like a lot of failed projects and a lot of like borderline scammy ones, but there is a lot of entrepreneurial spirit there, right? Like 80% of the population of Prospera is having their own projects. They are entrepreneurs, so that's a place where things are happening. The Germs clinic where Brian Johnson got his folistatin therapy is actually outside of Prospera. Why did I go there? I actually wanted to get the people to the Longevity World Cup. I launched the Longevity World Cup, and I wanted to get the initial show people from there. And it was interesting, right? There was the GARMS clinic where Brian Johnson got his folistatin therapy, and they were not able to do blood tests. So that's a problem. But there was supposed to be another clinic in the Duna building, in the Prosperant 5-story building. They were also promising me that they are going to do the blood tests, but the person who was going to run that building, first of all, the clinic was not set up when I arrived there, right? Like the equipment to the clinic was just arriving, so it was not set up. And the person in a couple of days were kind of like sent away because she was bringing in someone who was doing some stem cell therapy for Mike Tyson, and but he was probably scammy or not scammy, I don't know, but she was not welcomed to do the clinic there. So now there was the clinic with doctors and stuff, but no one was like doing anything with it, right? Like it's a project that's just standing. So I'm like, okay, I need to get the blood tests done. So I kind of took over that clinic and was running it for a couple of months. And the doctors were reporting to me and stuff like that, because
Really?
it was a duocracy, right? Like if you're not doing the shit there in Prospera, like 800 people at maximum, how many are there? If you're not moving things forward, then no one's gonna do that. So yeah, I took over the clinic and started drawing the blood of people around that place. Now, after reflection, after I left, there is a Prosperan League in the Longevity World Cup, so you can see who are from Prospera. You can see that not a single person got close to most of the people who joined the Longevity World Cup, right? So the people the Longevity World Cup is attracting online, like Dave Pasco, Michael's Garden, whatnot, and other people we don't know much about yet. They are something exceptional, because it's strange that not even the healthiest people in the Prosperan cohort has got close to most of the Longevity World Cup applicants. Yeah.
Yeah. So are they mostly, those individuals from Prospera, are they mostly just relying on the stem cells, the gene therapies, or do you think they're tackling the fundamentals as well?
So they are an open-minded bunch. So there was a guy who did some gene therapy as well, but he was a cyborg, literally a cyborg. He put a bunch of devices, a magnet here, another kind of RFID chip here, a vibrator was operated up into his S somehow, like this kind of cyborg people, and this kind of interesting people were there, right? And they were not the healthiest, but there were healthy people, and even they didn't perform, right?
Interesting. So how far did you get with the gene therapy? You were going to get it. I imagine you know how much it costs, and at what point did you stop before you proceeded to go through with it?
Oh yeah, I did not do that. So it was $20,000, and I don't know. So I went there in mind that I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to the other end of the world for a completely different reason, but I have a never coming back opportunity to get a modification on my body that could make everything else that I'm doing much easier. Who wouldn't want bigger muscles and do nothing for it, right? So I went there in mind that I'm probably going to do it. Now, the thing that convinced me to not do it eventually is I asked some opinions, and Dave Pasco sent me a kind of longer message about what the bottom line was, that it's FOMO, fear of missing out, and it would be unwise because later on they probably gonna come up with safer and more effective ways of doing this anyway. So you're not dying. You're 33 years old. You're not in a rush here. So I did not do it because, yeah, it would be unreasonable. But maybe I don't know. Maybe I should have done it.
No, I think it's still early. I am with you. I am more risk adverse. I want things to be vetted more. Even with supplements, I don't take a bunch of supplements. I'm along the line of thinking of Michael Lustgarten or Daniel Lewis, right? Where less is better, focus on the fundamentals, because everything else, I think the benefits that most people get from the supplements or in extreme cases, the gene therapies are going to be minimal if you're covering the fundamentals really well. So I don't blame you for not getting it. I think that's probably the wisest decision, especially at your age. So let's go back into your routine a little bit. So you said diet is your weak point. Have you been modifying it? Have you been trying? How are you trying to improve your diet? And what is your diet right now?
Oh yeah, diet is something that I'm doing well right now. So I lost 10% of my body weight the last half a year. And this is not that I'm doing this every year, right? Like I go down 15 kilogram, I go up 15 kilogram. Like this is pretty
Early on,
normal for me. Yeah. Um, the thing is that right now I'm on a roll, and I think I finally have it figured it out, but who knows? Okay. So the thing about me is that of all the genetic predispositions, problems that I could have from colorectal cancer or anything, the worst thing that I have is a huge affinity to having high body BMI, right? So I've been dieting my entire life ever since I'm probably ever since I'm 16. Right, that's my life. I'm dieting, and sometimes I lose some willpower for a couple of weeks, and I eat a lot of pizza or whatnot, and I gain back 10, 15 kilogram. Like I work hard most of the time, but I sleep and I gain back. Right now, what am I doing right now? Right now, I am optimistic because I've never done such a simple way how I'm doing now. I stopped counting calories and macros and micronutrients. Yeah, that's how crazy I was. Like I was doing at one point the my class garden method to put everything into chronometer for half a year. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Right now, I'm not doing anything. Every day I wake up and I check a checkbox. Did I eat healthy yesterday or not? Right? This simple. And what does healthy mean? Everyone kind of knows what healthy means. You probably want to eat salads and lean proteins, and that's it. Like fiber and protein. Like if you have that covered and you didn't eat the chocolate, then then it's healthy. Maybe one chocolate, right?
Yeah.
For some reason I'm not into chocolates. I never been. I was more into like I'm a programmer. I eat pizza. Yeah.
It goes along hand in hand, right? Okay, and what about supplements? Do you use any supplements aside from the reishi mushrooms or?
Oh yeah, so many the basic stuff. I'm doing these for since I started the dieting stuff, right? Like 16 to 20 years old. That's when I started to take vitamin D, fish oil. And by the way, if you measure or you're like me who almost never eat fish, then you have to take a lot more fish oil than you would think. So I'm taking um, six. right now 7 big fish oil capsules, not those small fish oil capsules, the big ones a day, right? I was taking 6 for the last 15 years, but started to do 7 because I was still a little bit deficient in fish oil with the 6 fish oil pills a day, right? So anyway, vitamin D, fish oil, multivitamin, it doesn't matter what kind, just one multivitamin a day, and creatine, right? Like creatine, everyone is taking it. Okay, so these 4 are the basics. And the last 5 years, maybe the last 3 years, and definitely the last 2 years, ever since I started the show, these 4 things that I was taking become uh 80. So I'm
80.
taking like 80 different kind of stuff, right? Like
Wow.
a lot of things. I'm taking hyaluronic acid, right, for beautiful skin, collagen. What else? Magnesium, of course. I'm taking a lot of magnesium throughout the day and for sleep. Yeah, I have 4 or 5 different kind of sleep supplements. I even do CBD oil because, well, why not? you know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm taking a lot of different kind of supplements. Um, Maybe of these 80, 40 of them are the ones those I would definitely take, and 40 of them those I'm currently experimenting with. I'm experimenting with all kinds of supplements in a way that I order it, um, I take it until it finishes, and then I forget about it. For example, taurine is something like this for me that I'm not taking taurine. Like I don't think it's reasonable to take taurine because when you were looking at the mouse studies that people are extrapolating in from to, then you would have to take a lot of taurine to get that 10% life extension. Like and 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 even a little bit more taurine than the normal might cause you diarrhea and stuff like that. So taurine is something that I hear so much about. I often order, and I'm taking it regularly, but it's not something that I would like have it as my staple supplement, taurine. But it's just, hey, I always have it in mind and I just order some. So that's my supplement philosophy. Like, okay, a lot of nonsense, but what do I feel from it, right? And not much. So whenever I go to travel, like for example, when I went to Prospera for 3 months, I don't take anything, right? Instead of taking 80 pills a day, I take 0 pills a day. And from one day to another, I stop taking any pills and I don't feel anything. I might sleep slightly worse because I don't take the 10 sleep supplements. I might don't have that nice feeling that I get from beta alanine. I might not have the caffeine highs. I start to lose weight fast because creatine is holding a lot of water, so that's leaving my body. Fun stuff. I figured that I have to stop creatine like 5 days before I go on a plane because otherwise I'm not going to have a nice flight, right? So yeah, but I don't feel anything. But again, like you can't just go by feel. For example, the omega-3, the fish oils, you can measure in your blood what's going on there, and you can see that you're deficient in it, right? So yeah, there is that.
So let's talk about your measurements. You mentioned a few, right? You mentioned you do regular blood tests. You mentioned you even have an aura range. So what of these interventions, which ones have moved needles, and which measurements have you used to see which needles have been moved by these interventions?
Yeah, definitely the Aura Ring, probably the best one because it's 24/7 status report of your body. Since we went into the philosophy of games a little bit, let me just make a case against these measurements. There is Tinyuan is today's most famous, largest game philosopher in the world, and he created this concept called value capture, which is, look at bodybuilders. How do they look like? We are in the monster era of bodybuilders, and they don't look good. They look actually quite not attractive to women because they have so much muscles. And this is value capture. What's the value? The muscle size. And having more and more muscle is good until it's like too good. Okay. What else? Education. There is this college university system. Previously, universities were teaching what they thought they should be teaching. But then the scoring system of the universities came that standardized the scoring of the universities. So now people are looking at which universities score higher, and universities, what they are teaching now is becoming more and more alike, narrow. So this is a value capture of the game of university. Now, the Tinuan's main example is Fitbit, well, let's say Oura Ring at this point, that he had a friend, he went to London and wanted to have a dinner with a local friend of him. But the friend of him was not available at that time because he had to make sure that he walks the distance that needed to have his Fitbit score, So now there is this value capture there, right? And I can notice on myself when I'm measuring my food, every single food and stuff, that there is a family dinner, and what happens? Let's say it's a big family dinner with grandma and whatnot, and they make a lot of nice food, but all kinds of food, right? And you bring your little scale and you take out the food and start to measure out and note into chronometer that what's going on, and everyone already finished the food by you just finished measuring it, and finally you can start eating it. That's the danger. But again, invaluable feedback, ordering invaluable feedback is if you can graph your blood tests over time. Like that's I found really useful.
Do you do epigenetic testing regularly? You've done it before, you said, but do you do it regularly, or is that just something?
Oh yeah, I'm actually doing it. I'm even subscribed to True Health, True Diagnostics, epigenetic stuff, but you have to take it with a grain of salt. Okay, here's a quick story. I got True Health, and I still have those Dunedin paste tests, those old ones. They are not selling anymore. And prick my finger, put on the True Health blood spot card, and put on the Dunedin paste blood spot card. It's the same blood. It's coming from the same blood, from the same finger prick. And I send them in. Okay, my Dunedin pace and telomere length came back, but later on, they gave me, so they made some mistake in the True Health kit, and as a consolation prize, they also gave us the true age tests. So they redid the true age test on the true health blood spot as well. Okay, so what would you assume? What do you get for the Dunedin pace and the Dunedin pace and the telomere length? What would you get from the Dunedin pace test and the true age test? You would assume it's the same because it's from the same blood, but it was not the same. There was like a 13% difference, right? So I'm really, it's fun for me. This is kind of my work to do these things, but at this point, these are not ready. I think it's a huge revolution, but these are not ready for normies, you know?
Yeah, reproducibility is low, even though they say it's within 5 years or less. But it's I agree with you. I think that many people have shown that it's not there yet. But even I've seen it too when I've done blood tests, right? So I think part of the issue could be with the finger prick. So when I compared finger prick blood testing for my blood biomarkers compared to a blood draw, although there was a 2 hour difference between the two because I couldn't get them done at the same time, there was significant differences in various markers such as blood lipids. There was up to 30% difference in the results I was getting back. Same day, same dehydration, but 2 hour difference. So quite a bit difference in my, say, cholesterol levels were up to 30% different.
Okay, so here is something else. I told you that I kind of took over a clinic in Prospera, and what happened there is that for the first 10 people, I did the blood draw. We are taking the blood to the hospital, right? And the hospital sends back the results. Everyone's tests were wrong. Every single person tests were wrong. And I was diagnosing the first people based on the first test results. And you would never know unless you see all 10 tests and you see all 10 values are completely outside of the ranges that you would expect them to be. So then we were like going back to the laboratory and saying, this is not cool. Okay, they redid the tests, but there were other things, those were still wrong, right? And then there were people who had to redo the tests 4 times because they messed it up 4 times. So, like, epigenetic test sucks, but here we are. Traditional healthcare system cannot get a test right either. So
yeah, there's intralab variability as well, right? I mean, none of these are perfect, right? It's not a perfect art. Last thing I want to ask you about is, so you explored gene therapies. What other, fringe type of therapies have you looked at or possibly done? Have you done any stem cell therapies or anything else that you've explored or done?
I don't think I've done anything like that. I am exploring ever since my Symphony Age test came back with bad lungs. I'm doing all kinds of things that I hopefully improving my lungs. So I was doing all kinds of breath work, hold breath, hyperventilation, blow out all the breath, hold breath, exerciser, whatnot. But one interesting thing that I found is to progressively overloading nebulization. Oh yeah, I even have it with me. So it's a nebulizer, right? And what's the idea? There are a couple of solutions. Usually they are changing by how much percentage of saline there is, salt concentration there is in there, and you can progressively overload it. But also you can add other things, or they can add other things, is NAC. Right now I'm nebulizing with NAC stuff, and and it smells like rotten egg when you're nebulizing. And you start to like it after a few occasions, But the last one is going to be, oh no, I have three more things here. So I will have a 7% saline solution and a 7% saline plus hyaluronic acid solution to nebulize. And what I'm doing right now, which is 3% saline plus NaC. Okay, so why is it interesting? It's interesting because if you're smoking and you stop smoking, right, then it's, even if you keep smoking, it clears your lungs, and it's safe. I've been doing this since I'm a child because I actually also have asthma, right? So I've been nebulizing it ever since then. What's the point? It clears your lungs, and that's pretty neat, and that's not normal. I haven't heard anyone doing that. Yeah.
Do you have a spirometer to measure your lung capacity?
Yeah, I have a spirometer, not only a spirometer. Yeah, I have a spirometer, but I also have this thing which is measuring the inflammation in your lungs, right? So I'm also taking my asthma medicine, but I'm only taking when my inflammation is high, right? It pushes it down and I can see, and I stop taking my asthma medicine. Yeah, for a few months when allergy season comes in and my inflammation gets high again. But yeah, I'm measuring my lung parameters every week for the last 6 months at least, or maybe a year at this point. Also, how long you can keep your breath, hold your breath, right? Those kind of things.
Okay. Anything else that you're doing that you found to be useful yourself or the people that you interviewed?
Oh yeah. On myself, I am making big progress in growing back my hair. So I had a company before, and one of the creative women decided to create a superhero figure out of me and create a lot of like stickers and swag with that. But that superhero figure did not have hair up here. And I'm like, holy fucking shit, that's how people see me. So then I started to figure out how can I get my hair back. And okay, so first I started to do minoxidil, didn't seem to do anything. Then
Oral or did you do topical?
topical. I actually want to take Aura because topical is such a, I don't know, it takes time. It's not, I'm already taking a lot of pills. One more pill, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I cannot get access to Aura. In this part of the world, somehow you can't. In fact, even the topical minoxidil was quite difficult to figure out what kind of, Indian internet pharmacies are willing to ship to you that thing. But yeah, then I started to microneedle once in a while. I stopped because it's a hassle. And I also do this red light therapy hat, right? So it does this thing, and I'm actually progressively overload everything. I'm even progressively overloading my red light therapy. But every morning, I just put it on, do the red light therapy, and I don't know if this works, but when I started adding the microneedling and the red light therapy hat, that's when I started to see the progress. that microneedling, red light therapy, and minoxidil. And ever since then, I added finasteride, or at least I hope it's finasteride, because that's another thing that you cannot get here. And I ordered it from a Romanian internet pharmacy with Bitcoin, which I don't. It's definitely not legal, right?
Yeah.
I ordered it, and I ordered Profacia, but what arrived was Defacia, which when I looked in the internet, I found an Indian company, but not like an advertisement or a website or anything like that, just a company registry entry that, hey, there is this Defacia thing. So I hope I'm taking finasteride, because I ordered a lot of them for like 10 years, so well, we'll see.
Okay.
But
But you're saying the microneedling, the red light therapy, and the medicine, right? The minoxidil is helping.
the minoxidil, yeah.
Okay.
Together the three was working.
Yeah.
But the red light therapy is the most hassle free, because you always sit down to your computer to work, and it doesn't bother you to have a hat on you for 10 minutes. So that's what I would suggest. Even if it doesn't work, what do you have to lose? Well, your money. But okay.
Money. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for doing this interview. Very interesting, and I love what you're doing with the Longevity World Cup. I hope it keeps on growing. So, where would you like people to find you if you want people to find you and follow you? And is there anything you want to shout out and promote?
LongevityWorldCup.com. Please consider joining the competition.
Well, let's do this interview hopefully in another year or two. I'd love to see how much Longevity World Cup has grown and what other interventions and measurements you implement into your own life. So, and keep doing those interviews. I love the interviews on your channel too. You should shout out your channel. You're doing a great job interviewing the individuals.
Oh, I also want to shout out to your channel, because when I started doing the interviews, the longevity athlete interviews, in these early days, it was your channel that I was like looking at. Okay, so who's this Jamwell person? Because no one else was trying to cover these topics. So kind of like I'm in your footsteps. Started.
No, I think you're doing a great job. You're being very consistent with it. So kudos to that.
All right.
Yeah, and I think you know what? There's plenty of room in this space, and I think all boats can rise with the tide, right? So I think maybe we can help each other and find interviews and help our channels grow at the same time.
Well, it's definitely not a zero-sum game,
Completely agree.